Week 9 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. The first hitter, Matt Chapman of the San Francisco Giants. And Matt Chapman, he got off to a bad start the first 5-6 weeks of the year, but he's really been on a tear of late on the season. 8 home runs, 27 RBI, 37 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, a 240 average, and a 308 on base. But the last couple weeks here, like I said, he's been on a tear now. 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 16 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 341 average, and a 463 on base. So right now, batting cleanup for this San Francisco Giant team. He was a guy a few weeks ago, he was under 50% owned and was a waiver wire pickup. And now to get someone off the waiver wire and flip him in a deal for a starting pitcher, that's the way I would go. Especially someone like Chapman, who we've seen over the last few seasons, where that batting average, it's in the 230s, 240s. He strikes out a whole lot. And even the home runs and RBIs have dropped off over the last couple seasons. So the last few games for Chapman, May 24th at the Mets 0 for 3 a run, May 25th at the Mets 0 for 4, May 26th at the Mets 1 for 4 with a run, and May 27th versus the Phillies 0 for 4 with 2 runs. So he's been playing good baseball, no doubt about it, but he's starting to cool off a bit over the last 4 games. And like I said, to get someone off the waiver wire and flip him in a deal is always a route fantasy owners would want to go if they don't believe the player they picked up keeps it up at a good level. So this week, Chapman once again on the sell list. And I'm not saying dump him just for anything, but I believe Chapman's not going to hold up at these good numbers the whole season. Next hitter is Andrés Giménez of the Cleveland Guardians. So Giménez last season was a down year for him, but this year he's bounced back with a better season so far in the year. 4 home runs, 32 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, 31 runs scored, a 270 average, and a 333 on base. But the last couple weeks he's been white hot on the season. 4 home runs, 33 RBIs, 31 runs scored, 8 stolen bases, a 270 average, and a 333 on base. But the last couple weeks he's been white hot. Is Giménez, 2 home runs, 13 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 11 runs scored, a 362 average, and a 415 on base. So Giménez, we know he's going to steal the bases. The power, maybe 15-20 home run guy. And only hit 15 homers last year. And RBIs anywhere from 60 to 70, but his batting average is way over the top right now, even though I know earlier with the New York Mets in his career, and then the Guardians, the first season he played with them, the batting average was way up there, and he's one of the better pure hitters in all the major leagues. But I don't believe that's the case anymore. More tape on Giménez, and teams have figured him out a little bit. So right now, while he's on a hot streak, I would sell him off, and he's a second baseman as well, obviously, where he'll have a little more value where it's a weak position. May 24th at the Angels, 2 for 4, 2 runs and RBI. May 25th at the Angels, 0 for 4. May 26th at the Angels, 2 for 4, run, an RBI, stolen base. And May 27th at the Rockies, 1 for 5 with an RBI. So Giménez playing good baseball. He's been a top 10 hitter in the rankings over the last couple weeks. But right now, I will flip him in a deal and sell him high this week. The next hit is his teammate David Fry of the Cleveland Guardians. So just like Matt Chapman, I mentioned early in the video, Fry's that player you picked up off the waiver wire 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's been playing great baseball, and especially with the catcher eligibility, first and outfield is a big plus, is a good selling point. On the year, he's tearing it up, 6 home runs, 20 RBIs, 23 runs scored, 3 stolen bases, a 344 average, and a 487 on base. Obviously, these numbers aren't going to stick. He's not a full-time player all the way. You'll need 90 at-bats for Fry, but they're going to start getting his bat in the lineup more often, and that's what they've done over the last couple weeks now, is this Cleveland Guardian team. So the last few games, May 22nd versus the Mets, 2 for 3 a run. May 24th at the Angels, 2 for 3 a homer and RBI, 2 runs scored. May 26th at the Angels, 0 for 4. May 27th at the Rockies, 1 for 3 with a run and an RBI. So Fry, like I said, he's been tearing it up, especially the last couple weeks as well. 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 9 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 455 average in that time, and it's 625 on base. So those numbers are out of this world, and they're not sustainable. So like I said, it's been a small sample size. He's definitely hitting the baseball well to all fields, and good, obviously, versatility for catcher, first, and outfield, where I think fantasy owners right now will be the time to sell him high and get a nice deal for David Fry for a proven pitcher or another bat that you think will have more consistency and finish the year better. The next hitter is Ryan McMahon of the Colorado Rockies. So Ryan McMahon last season, it was middle of the pack type of year for him, where it was a low batting average type of year. with 23 homers, 70 RBIs, only hitting 240, 80 runs scored. And so far this year, he's off to a way better start and a better pace. 10 home runs, 32 RBIs, 27 runs scored, a 294 average, and a 377 on base. And over the last couple weeks, 5 homers, 11 RBIs, 10 runs scored, a 267 average, and a 340 on base. So the batting average right off the bat, no pun intended, I believe, is going to be falling down as the weeks go on for McMahon. Because like I said, he's more of a 230 to a 250 range type of hitter, which is fine, obviously, where he could hit 20, 25 home runs, qualifies at second and third, which is good versatility as well, and a good trading point for fantasy owners, where second base is a weak position. But like I said, the power tear is a little bit fluky with the 10 home runs in the early going. I know he plays at Coors Field, and the altitude in the ball carries, but I just don't think McMahon's going to keep it up at the pace he's on. May 23rd at Oakland, 0 for 5 with a run and a rib. May 25th versus Phillies, 0 for 3 with a run. May 26th versus Philly, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs. And May 27th versus the Guardians, 0 for 4. So he's playing great baseball, no doubt about it, is Ryan McMahon. But he's a player that we've seen it over the last few seasons, where he could get majority of his stats in a month, and then the other 4 or 5 months he's not doing much for fantasy owners. So right now, well, he's clicking on all cylinders for the most part, and definitely showing power in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I would sell McMahon high in the 5th and final hitter. I look to sell and trade Bichette of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Bo Bichette, it hasn't been that great of a year for him so far as Bichette, but he's still owned in 97% of fantasy leagues. In the last couple weeks, he's really picking it up. On the year, 4 home runs, 23 RBIs, 18 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 250 average, and a 300 on base for Bo Bichette. In the last couple weeks, he's been really getting it going. 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, 5 runs scored, a stolen base, a 383 average, and a 420 on base. I know Bichette last season hit over 300, had 20 home runs, but I believe he's not going to do that once again this year as Bichette. And his numbers have definitely dropped off a little bit this season from last year on pace, even though right now, the last couple weeks, he's been hot. But I believe this Toronto team as a whole, their offense has definitely taken a step back this season. George Springer, he hasn't been the same at all this year. Justin Turner, he hasn't done much since they signed him. And even Bo Bichette now, we haven't seen much. Of the last few games, May 23rd at Detroit, 3 for 5, a run, a rib. May 24th at Detroit, 2 for 4. May 25th at Detroit, 0 for 4. May 26th at Detroit, 2 for 5, a run, 2 RBIs. And May 27th at the White Sox, 1 for 4 with a homer and an RBI. So right now, like I said, Bichette's starting to get it going. But fantasy owners, they might want to get rid of him now that they finally took him a month and a half to get his bat going. I believe Bichette is just going to have a down year. Just like I said, this whole Toronto Blue Jay offense has a down year. And he's a sell-high hitter this week, where right now he's hitting about 400 in the last couple weeks. That's a few hitters I look to sell and trade for Week 9 of the fantasy baseball season.